right, week 10 in CIT82. Bring up your notes, your Google Doc, and let's get started. So we continue our adventure into search engine optimization, and in this case focus more on e-commerce because it ticks off two important topics for us, which is the e-commerce side and then search engine optimization. So again, continuing on your notes with this one, our two items for today. First is a UI UX, so user experience, user interface, UI, user UX, user experience, user interface. This is a really wonderful field for anybody that after you either have watched this or already know what this job career entails. If you're good at it, if you can look at something and see that it's designed well and think you can replicate or create your own design or whatever, right? So just watch this and then, go as normal and level up. Find some other, so here I've given you a base video to start with. And then, find some other resources that help you take this learning, this information to the next level. Really important and I think really viable and fun, honestly, for creative types, job, a career. Okay, the second one is a continuation of what we did last week. Okay, so when we cloned the repo and did some changes locally, this time we're going to do a push. Okay, so a push is basically an upload, placing files from a local system onto a remote system. And there are many different ways in today's web technology options to do this. The one option that I've showed last semester that I don't think I'm going to do this semester is called FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Okay, and the reason is it's becoming a bit like old school, not used as much. It's not secured unless you specifically get a secured FTP, but by default it's not. And it's just a way to transfer files. So we're going to use, instead of FTP this semester, as I've already talked about, we're going to use GitHub. And in this case, a push to a remote, which is basically the same concept of a file transfer protocol, right? Moving a file from a local system into a remote server somewhere and using some kind of standard protocol to do that between the client and the server. Again, there are different ways to do this. You can do this through shell, you can do this through command line like we're going to do. Alright, so I'm going to bring up my command line for I'm going to go ahead and clear this because I did just do a push to make sure everything worked. Okay, so I'm in my local repo. I'm going to do a git status, and I know what it's going to say, but that's okay, is that my branch, my master branch, okay, so branching is not something, and I talked about this last week, we do, but it is good to know what it is. But in our case, we're on our master branch. So if we had decided to take our concept off into a different direction, we may have branched it and then merged it back in. Okay, but we're good in this case. So the other thing I'm going to do is, I should have already done this, but I'll do it with you, is I'm going to go ahead and open up that subdirectory into my editor. As you can see, I have quite a few files in here, so I'll go ahead and open that up and we'll do it in this window. Okay, so here's my files as they exist right now. And what I want you to do here is I want you to actually create another file. Okay, and this is always a good experience. Okay, so in this case, in my editor, I can right click in this. Now what I'm right clicking on here is my repo. I can also, and even though you don't see it, is come up to File and do New. Okay, an HTML file. And on Sublime, you can do the same thing. As a matter of fact, I should have been using Sublime because that's what I said I would use. So on Sublime Text, let me do the same thing where I open, okay, and I'll find my documents and I will find 82 and I will find that and open it. Cool. So I can, same thing. So here in Sublime Text, right, I'm going to come up. It's hard for you. You can't see it. File New. Okay. And File New will create an untitled document. Now what I probably want to do really is right click here and do New File. And that does the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and name this file, save as, and I'm going to call this page 2. I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. Cool. So that's my page 2. And it should have been in that folder. Oh, good. It is in that folder. Oh, but that's right. See, I forget that about Sublime Text. So actually what I need to do is a save as, and here's what I'm talking about. It says page 2. It doesn't say page2.html, so we know the kind of file it is. And now we have 2 files, right? So this is good to know. I'm going to right click and delete that other file. So now I have that in here, okay? So in my index file, where after I'd put some text, and you all have added more text since then, that's cool. I'm going to do a div, and I'm using Emmet here, and I'm going to say see my second page. And then in here, I'm going to do an A, okay, and a ref. So now what this gives me is the option to say where I want this link to go. So I'm going to say page 2. Now, in this case, I want this wrapped. So I'm going to take this, select it, and pull it to the end. So then that creates in a div a link to that second page, so see my second page. Okay, cool. So, and remember, you have to hit save. Cool. All right, so it doesn't matter, again, what editor you use. You have to just know those basics, and from your level up, you should have that. But now that I come to my Git, and I do Git status now, I have some files, right? So I have some new files, I have some changed files. So I'm going to do Git add star. Add all my files. I'm going to do git. Let me do clear here. Okay. Git commit -m, and I'm going to say adding second page. Okay. Good. So now if I do git status again, I should see that I'm pretty good. I do see that because I opened that one file in, or I opened that directory in my WebStorm, I get this hidden directory, and the reason I know it's hidden is that if I went in to look for it, it wouldn't be there necessarily in my Finder, which is why we add something called a git ignore. But just know that that's there. So now, okay, so now I'm going to flip over before I do this, and I want to show you. I'm on my repo on GitHub, and I'm on my rendered web page that we've set up. And my last commit was 7 days ago, and that was last week when I recorded. So just to show you, and so now I'm going to come back to my local. I'm going to do the command that you're really here to do today, which is Git Push. Now, depending on your setup, depending on a lot of other things, anything could either go right or wrong here, but don't worry, you'll figure it out whichever way. But once I hit enter, then that pushes my local changes up to my remote repo. Okay, and if I do git status again, I'll see I'm all up to date except for that funky little directory. And if I come over here and I refresh, I see that, yeah, just a minute ago I added my second page, right? So first add your page, make sure it's linked correctly, okay? And then in this case, just give me a link here. That's fine. Just give us all a link into this so we can see. Actually, no, we can't see this Actually, we can't see this. So take a print screen and think about this. You're all logged in individually, so you can't. So in this case, just do a print screen of this area, upload it to your Google Drive. Although I will tell you now, you have all the skills you need to actually place that print screen into a folder. Maybe that's what we'll do next week, because I want to continue using this, right, each week. And the reason is because we're going to use this, right, instead of server space that we had done before. We're going to keep using this every week. So I think I'll just do that for next week, is we'll actually do a file, place a file on, place an image onto the HTML, and then show you how to then upload but it's no different how to push to the remote. Okay, so I hope that is successful for you. If you run into any issues, reach out. Let us know what you have or what you may need help with. There is a lot of documentation about different stuff about the push and what may, if you run into an error. And really what you want to do in this case is start here. If you run into an error, okay, search Google with your error message, and you should get a lot of great information. Okay. All right, normal replies and due dates. I did place today, I believe, and I did it on this one, right, just to be clear, because I felt really bad about the last week, what happened, right? So make sure your main replies are done by Sunday night of this week. And if you post after that, it's 15 points off. Substantive replies are worth 25 points. Because sometimes I know somebody just writes a one sentence, and that's not quite enough. Remember, there's only 3 major things in this class: lectures, hands-on, and current topics. So just give each one the effort that it needs. All right, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.